So Chris Paul was traded to the Houston Rockets for basically nothing. And to be honest, the reason for this is that Chris Paul was going to leave the Clippers, so they had to just get whatever they could get for pretty much like nothing. Like, they were going to lose him anyway, so at least they got some good role players in return. But in this video, I'm going to be talking about the kind of scary thing that this trade shows. But first, I'm going to be saying whether I think the Houston Rockets are going to beat the Golden State Warriors, and I don't. I don't think this trade makes the Houston Rockets any better. And you might think I'm crazy. You might think I'm crazy. But Mike D'Antoni's system relies so heavily on one dominant ball handler. Steve Nash, Jeremy Lin, James Harden. The three of them had massively inflated stats. It made Steve Nash an MVP. It should have made James Harden an MVP if Westbrook didn't average a triple-double. And it made Jeremy Lin look like a superstar. Mike D'Antoni's system favours one ball handler massively. And James Harden and Chris Paul are both ball-dominant players. And arguably the two most ball-dominant players in the NBA right now. But I know you're saying, oh, he can change his system to get the two of them to play with each other. You can say that, but what happened when he coached the LA Lakers? Steve Nash and Kobe Bryant, two ball-dominant players that struggled playing with each other. They struggled big time playing with each other. And I think that's going to happen with James Harden and Chris Paul. And if they get Carmelo Anthony, it's going to be even harder to fit them all into Mike D'Antoni's system. Making this trade, you might as well just get rid of D'Antoni. There's no reason to have him as the coach if you're trying to play with Chris Paul and James Harden. But anyway, that's not really the point. What I'm talking about is the kind of scary future that the NBA is going into, or at least for this era anyway. It seems that there's one of two ways teams are going right now. Unless you're a team like the Atlanta Hawks, who just managed to stay slightly above average every year. They trade some of their players and they still win 45 to 50 games and make the playoffs. It's crazy how average that franchise is. But apart from them, you're either 1, trying to form a super team, 2, collecting assets, Philadelphia 76ers, Boston Celtics, or 3, you're in the process of clearing house to tank. One of those three things. In a few years, I think that this is actually going to be very scary, because I think there's going to be 2 to 3 dominant franchises in the NBA. For example, if LeBron James goes to the Lakers I can see having 20 good years. And you might think I'm crazy for saying that because anything can happen. But what happens? LeBron James goes to the Lakers, brings in Paul George. When LeBron retires, Paul George is still there. They probably bring in 1 or 2 other superstars. When Paul George is there, Lonzo Ball is going to be there. People are going to just keep gravitating towards the Lakers. And then younger players come in to play with the older players. The older players get old. The more young players try to play with the franchise that keeps winning. And the super teams are forming. You might be thinking this is crazy, but if any of you guys are fans in soccer, you realise that the teams with the big money are way better than everyone else. There's the odd upset, like Leicester City win the Premier League last year from nowhere. That was a massive upset. In Premier League soccer, for the next 10 years, Spurs, Chelsea, Man United, Arsenal, Liverpool, Man City. Those 6 teams. One of those 6 teams is going to win every single Premier League for the next 10 years. And I can almost guarantee that. There's been a 99% chance that one of those 6 teams is going to win for the next 6 years. And I think that's the way basketball is going to become. Because with the super team era, every team is going to go into luxury tax. They're going to start going into the repeater tax. And the thing is, not all teams can afford that. Hence why the Oklahoma City Thunder didn't form their super team back in 2012. Why they didn't keep James Harden. Because everyone knew James Harden was a great player. No one knew he was this good, but everyone knew he was good. Oklahoma is not a big enough market that they could afford to go into luxury tax. And they would have had to give a multiple-year contract to James Harden. They would have to give a multiple-year contract to Serge Ibaka, decided to keep Ibaka. But they would have had to go into repeater tax by the time all those contracts were done, or just kill their bench, meaning they weren't going to do much anyway. Smaller franchises, the way the NBA is going, have no chance. They've got absolutely no chance in the future. Even though the Bucks look like they're going to be great. What happens if Giannis wants to form a super team? The Bucks are going to be nothing for the next 10 years. The Los Angeles Clippers traded away Chris Paul. Who's going to want to play for the Clippers? Blake Griffin's going, more than likely. The Clippers are going to become one of the most irrelevant franchises in basketball. Franchises like this are going to stay bad because of this super team era. Players after their 7th year in the league, or 8th year in the league, whenever their contract finishes, are all going to jump ship and form super teams, which means that even though there are going to be those young teams that are really good, they're going to be broken up. Like the Philadelphia 76ers, the Feds. What happens when the Warriors win, I don't know, the next like 3 NBA championships realistically? Then they can't afford to get all their players. They have to trade one of them. They can't match contracts. That team is broken up. Who knows what's going to happen, but I'm very scared for the future of NBA basketball. And I'm not scared as in I'm scared for the future like it's going to be bad basketball. We're going to see the best players in the world playing against each other more often. We're going to see way better teams playing against each other. There's going to be some great marquee matchups during the year. But I think that the competitiveness is going to completely go. It's going to be either super team or tank. And everyone's saying that it's not. Trust me, it's going to be super team or tank. It's heading slowly towards that. And I think the Chris Paul thing to the Rockets is kind of sums it up. Like, you'd expect Chris Paul to take his money. The Clippers were a really good team. The Clippers could have ran the Warriors quite close had he not got injured, had Griffin not got injured. But obviously they lost in the first round because of it. They never got a chance to beat the Golden State Warriors. And Chris Paul decides to leave and join a team that may be considered in some people's eyes a contender, the Houston Rockets. And Paul George wants to leave Indiana. Indiana 3 years ago were looking like they were better than the Miami Heat, looking like they could be the best team in the Eastern Conference. He wants out to form a super team. Carmelo wants out, will probably join a super team. Jimmy Butler, I'm surprised he didn't join the Celtics, but has gone to the Timberwolves, who knows, could become a super team. All these teams, there's about 6 relevant teams in the NBA right now. There is the Boston Celtics, who are good. They are very good and have assets. The Cleveland Cavaliers, the Golden State Warriors, the Houston Rockets, the San Antonio Spurs. I'm going to put the Timberwolves in because they're a future team. The same with the Philadelphia 76ers. 7 teams. Maybe the Bucks. It's 8. And then maybe the Wizards as well. So that's 10 teams. So 20 teams realistically are in tank mode now. Teams are going to try almost tank and make the playoffs. Teams are going to completely cut their roster and make the playoffs, i.e. what the Atlanta Hawks have done the last year. They traded Korver. They wanted to trade Millsap and still made the playoffs. But anyway, I'm kind of ranting a little bit. And that's just my theory on what may happen in the NBA and how I think the Chris Paul trade may be signaling a legit super team era. Obviously, there was the Warriors and the Cavs, the 2 super teams. But there are teams that can compete with them. And you're going to have to form a super team to do it. And it's looking like these franchises are now going all in, risking future, risking everything to go and win championships, to form super teams. And players are taking pay cuts to do it, which I applaud in a way. But as a fan, you got to kind of be a little bit frustrated. So anyway, that's the video. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe.